everyone, welcome to this update video this morning. I hope you're doing good. Let's go ahead and take a look at what is happening across the Atlantic Basin. And so here we're looking at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. So we've got our disturbance that is making its way into the Caribbean. So this is a marked tropical wave which has a chance of development once it reaches the Northwest Caribbean or the southern Gulf of Mexico in another couple of days. So as of right now, as we go onto the satellite imagery, we can definitely see that there is that blob in the southeastern Caribbean in association with it. So there's also quite a bit of dust around. There is some denser Saharan dust which has moved into the area. We'll look at the forecast for that later in the video. But this disturbance is definitely here and helping to induce some showers across parts of the Windward Islands this morning. So you can let me know what's been happening for you. And so we're going to see what happens with it as it drifts toward the west. But then there is another area of concern, which is our tropical wave offshore the African coast. We've got all our models expecting that we're going to see some level of development as we head into next week when the system is approaching the Caribbean. So we could have a tropical depression or tropical storm potentially affecting the Caribbean as we head into next week. We'll be looking at the forecast for that as well. But for now, we're going to be talking about this disturbance here. And as we take a look at the rest of the Caribbean region, though, we can see that there's definitely some showers around here and there. Not a whole lot of significant activity across the northern islands. And then as we head to Central America in parts of Belize, Guatemala, Mexico, and elsewhere in other countries such as Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, near Panama, there is some thunderstorm activity scattered about. And then up to the vicinity of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, there's been some shower and thunderstorm activity up there as well. So let's go ahead and look at the rainfall forecast for today. And so here we can see that there are some of these more colorful shadings around for some areas, Florida, the Bahamas, in some spots, Cuba, especially in the west. And as we head to the vicinity of the Cayman Islands, though, much not expected in terms of rainfall today, although there could be some passing showers. For parts of Jamaica, it's going to be a similar story. Some places may not experience much or anything at all in the realm of rainfall, but there could be some showers and thunderstorms for some other areas. Similar story for Hispaniola and then parts of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. The Leeward Islands, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bartholomew, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Bas, St. Eustatius, and Montserrat may not experience a whole lot of rain today, but Guadeloupe southward through Grenada, including Trinidad, Tobago, and Barbados, may experience some thunderstorms and even some heavy rainfall activity at times, although not guaranteed for all of the islands there. Then for the ABC Islands, much not expected at all. Northern South America will experience some of those showers and thunderstorms, and some of the heavy rain may have the potential to trigger flooding. And then for Central America, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, the offshore islands of San Andreas, Providencia, Honduras. Then as we head to El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, and Mexico, there could definitely be some heavy rain today, some additional heavy rain, which will have the potential to result in some level of flooding across some areas. And then it's going to be a pretty windy day across the eastern islands of the Caribbean, the ABC Islands, the Lesser Antilles, even up to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands as well. So winds are going to be kicking up probably over 25 knots or so with higher gusts at times. But then as we head to the Western Caribbean, it's not going to be as windy for most areas. Winds probably 10 going up to 15 knots at maximum through today. And as I mentioned, there is that Saharan dust moving in. So that very dense plume of dust, it has made its way into the region. It is blanketing the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and even the ABC Islands as well. Then as we're going to be heading into tomorrow, other areas such as Hispaniola, the Southern Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos Islands, Jamaica, Cuba, even up to the Cayman Islands, will be blanketed by that denser dust plume. And then all of this dry air and dust is going to remain across parts of the Caribbean as we're going to be heading into Friday, going into Saturday, and then we see that other plume, not so dense, but another plume making its way in around that time. And as I mentioned yesterday, this is not something uncommon for the time of year. We'll typically have these large, dense plumes of dust making their way to the Caribbean and Americas. And this also helps to slow things down in terms of tropical cyclone activity. And so it is actually one of the factors which will help to limit development of the current marked tropical wave that we could see get itself together. So that is one of the reasons why, as it moves across most of the Caribbean, development isn't expected. That is why there's that arrow pointing to the northwest Caribbean and the southern Gulf, because that is where conditions could become most conducive to allow for the system to develop. But then land interaction may become another inhibiting factor as well. So if it doesn't have a whole lot of time to loiter over the warm waters and it goes over land, that will interfere with the circulation of the system and may be a limiting factor in terms of development. So we'll see what happens with it. Models are not showing too much, but there's definitely going to be that increase in moisture, which can allow for some periods of heavy rain across some spots in the Northwest Caribbean and Central America. But the area of concern where, the models are actually showing more development is that tropical wave offshore Africa, as I have mentioned. So let's go ahead and take a look at the latest forecasts. We're kickstarting things with the Euro model. Now, these squiggly black lines you're seeing are called isobars, and they join areas of equal pressure. Now, when we're talking about development here, we want to see them in a circular manner, and especially when we're seeing them being very tightly packed, that is a sign of a stronger system. And the looser they are, the weaker the system is. So as we're going to be heading into Tuesday evening of next week, here we can see all of this activity. These green shadings indicate the precipitation rate or all the moisture associated with the system. So by that time, Euro's not showing something defined, but we definitely see what appears to be a strong tropical wave making its way into the vicinity of the Caribbean islands. But then as we head into Wednesday of next week, the middle of the week, take a look at this. The system seems to be getting more defined. And then eventually we see it drifting up to the northwest within the vicinity of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and near the Dominican Republic by Thursday of next week. And we see that L, so the L shows it is a low pressure area, and we see that the minimum pressure is 1007 millibars. And once this value decreases down into the 900s, that is also a sign of strength. And the lower the pressure is, the stronger the system. And then eventually, as we head into Thursday evening, take a look at this. We see the system definitely intensifying by that time. So Euro is showing that tropical wave developing as it makes its way in the Caribbean and then makes its way out of the Caribbean back into the Atlantic. So it may not move on a general westward trajectory into the region, but there could be some changes in regards to that as well. So let's move on here. We can see that the icon model, the end of the icon run for the latest update goes out to Tuesday of next week on the 2nd of July. And by that time, icon is definitely expecting that we could see maybe a tropical depression approaching the Lesser Antilles. And this would be taking on somewhat of a west-northwest trajectory, keeping that there's that strong or dominant area of high pressure out there. And the stronger the area of high pressure is, the more of a westward track we would see with or tropical systems that are trying to develop. And then there is also the GFS model. Now, GFS is not showing a whole lot of development with the system. This goes out to Wednesday of next week. We can see some moisture definitely associated with it, but not seeing anything too defined. And then that moisture is spreading across the eastern islands as we head into Thursday. And then the Canadian model is also expecting that we could see some level of development. So all in all, as I said, we've got all our models expecting that we could see some development of that tropical wave currently out there. Now, because development is not imminent, an area isn't marked, but I'm definitely anticipating that in the coming days, with these trends continuing, we're going to see another area being marked for development, and that is where I really think the chance would favor. So as I said, for that Caribbean disturbance, it could try to take advantage of the conditions out there, but models are not showing too much be coming off the system, but we'll be keeping an eye on it regardless. And regardless of it developing as well, we don't need a tropical depression or storm to have some serious impacts, because the rainfall threat is going to be the main concern. This could unleash a lot of rain across parts of Central America in areas that are already drenched, and as a result, there could be flooding. There could even be mudslides across some areas with the passage of the system in the area. So it's not always about, whether we're going to have a tropical storm or not, but just the system being a strong tropical wave can be enough to unleash dangerous impacts. And then for that next tropical wave out there, again, development is not expected imminently, but as we head into next week, we can see that the models are hopping on to this that tropical wave, getting itself together, potentially becoming a tropical storm. Now, that is still not a guarantee, and to say where exactly this thing will go, how soon it will turn, we're going to see some changes in regards to the model runs. And so that is why I'm here to keep you posted on a day-to-day basis, so that we can see what is expected. And as we get closer and closer to the time, we'll have a better idea of what is likely to be the outcome. But I'm here to keep you posted regardless. And that is basically it for this update video. So that is what I wanted to share with you, and I really do hope you found it to be quite informative. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll respond to you when I get the chance to do so. And remember to always be weatherwise.